The 1980s brought massive changes to the American automotive industry. Full-size cars that once dominated the roads were struggling to adapt to fuel economy regulations and changing consumer preferences. Today, we're counting down 8 full-size cars from the 1980s that earned their place in automotive history for all the wrong reasons. These aren't just cars that aged poorly. These are vehicles that were fundamentally flawed from day one. Number 8. 1985 to 1987 Cadillac DeVille. The 1985 Cadillac DeVille represented a dramatic departure from tradition, and not in a good way. When Cadillac decided to downsize its flagship sedan, they created a car that was 2 feet shorter and 600 pounds lighter than its predecessor. The problem wasn't just the size reduction, it was that the new DeVille looked nearly identical to the Oldsmobile 98 and Buick Electra it shared its platform with. Buyers paying premium Cadillac prices found themselves driving what was essentially badge-engineered mediocrity. Under the hood, the 4.1-liter V8 engine was chronically underpowered for a luxury car. Owners reported constant electrical problems, with alternators failing multiple times, fan modules malfunctioning, and cooling sensors giving out regularly. The digital dash would glitch, power accessories would fail intermittently, and the overall build quality felt cheap compared to what Cadillac had previously delivered. Number 7. 1985 to 1988 Oldsmobile 98. The 1985 Oldsmobile 98 joined GM's front-wheel drive C-body revolution, and the results were disappointing. Early models came with serious transmission problems, with the 440 T4 transaxle proving woefully inadequate. Some units were assembled without transmissions entirely, creating massive delays for buyers. When transmissions did arrive, they often struggled to reach 50,000 miles without major failure. Build quality was a persistent issue throughout the production run. The cars felt tinny and lightweight compared to their predecessors, with door panels that rattled, dashboard materials that cracked prematurely, and trunk areas that drummed loudly over rough roads. The 3.8-liter V6 engine in early models had problems with misfiring, rough idling, and the notorious nylon timing gear that could fail catastrophically. Owners reported electrical gremlins, including wiring that would melt and dashboard lights that threw constant fits. While later models with the improved 3800 V6 were more reliable, the early years established a reputation for quality problems that hurt sales significantly. Number 6. 1985 to 1990 Buick Electra. The 6th-generation Buick Electra shared the same problematic C-body platform as its GM siblings. The early 3.8 LG3 engine used in 1985 to 1987 models was essentially a ticking time bomb. Engineers made the baffling decision to use a nylon-coated aluminum timing gear borrowed from light-duty V8 designs. This gear would strip its coating and fail, often leaving owners stranded with expensive engine damage. The problem was so widespread that replacement steel gears became standard for anyone working on these cars. Beyond engine problems, the Electra suffered from chronic stalling issues, with cars dying while driving and refusing to restart without cycling the ignition multiple times. The crankshaft position sensor was poorly designed, with its mounting bracket working loose during normal driving, causing sudden engine stalls without warning. Electrical problems plagued these cars, with fuses blowing mysteriously, power window motors failing, and cooling fans refusing to activate. Number 5. 1980-1983 Lincoln Continental Mark V. Ford's attempt to downsize the Continental Mark series resulted in one of the decade's most spectacular commercial failures. The Mark VI sold only half as many units as its predecessor, the Mark V, despite being introduced during an era of fuel consciousness. The problem wasn't just the downsizing. It was the awkward proportions and dated styling that made the car look like a badly tailored suit. Buyers in the personal luxury market found the Mark V unfashionably anachronistic, despite its digital instrument panel and electronic gadgets. The car's hidden headlights had chronic vacuum problems, causing them to stay open or malfunction. Electrical systems were notoriously problematic, with main fuses blowing when the car got hot, leaving owners stranded with no power to any accessories. The 302 V8 engine, while reasonably reliable, was underwhelming in performance. Build quality varied wildly, with some cars having paint defects, trim pieces that fell off, and interior components that broke easily. The Mark V proved that downsizing alone wasn't enough. You needed good execution, something Ford clearly lacked with this model. 4. 1984 to 1989 Chrysler Fifth Avenue. The Chrysler Fifth Avenue of the mid-1980s was essentially a heavily dressed-up version of the troubled 1976 Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Volare. Despite its luxury pretensions with padded vinyl roofs and button-tufted interiors, the Fifth Avenue couldn't escape its problematic genetics. The front suspension's transverse torsion bar design wore out quickly, causing chronic inside tire wear and handling problems. The 318 V8 engine used a plastic timing chain gear that was prone to failure, potentially causing catastrophic engine damage. The 7.25-inch rear axle was notoriously weak, failing even under normal driving conditions. Chrysler's feedback carburetor system was temperamental, causing rough idling, difficult starting, and hesitation problems that were difficult to diagnose and fix. The lock-up torque converter in the transmission created drivability issues. Electrical problems were common, with brake lights working intermittently, headlights only functioning on high beam, and various sensors malfunctioning. 3. 1983 to 1986 Ford Ltd. Crown Victoria. The early 1980s Ford Ltd. Crown Victoria suffered from a particularly troublesome fuel delivery system. The central fuel injection, CFI, introduced in 1983, was a source of constant frustration for owners. Cars would stall chronically in traffic, refuse to idle properly, and experience sudden hesitation when accelerating. The CFI system's throttle body design was flawed, leading to carbon buildup and erratic performance that mechanics struggled to fix reliably. Beyond fuel system woes, the early Crown Victorias had issues with power brake boosters and master cylinders that made brakes feel spongy and unresponsive, a dangerous problem in a large, heavy car. The heater cores leaked frequently, fogging up interiors and diminishing heating performance. Air conditioning systems failed regularly. Rust problems developed quickly, particularly in the roof area, where moisture would get trapped and cause structural deterioration. 2. 1986 to 1989 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham. The 1986 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham represented Cadillac's continued reliance on outdated rear-wheel drive technology at a time when the rest of the luxury market was moving forward. While traditionalists appreciated its body-on-frame construction and classic styling, the car was fundamentally obsolete from the day it launched. The 307 cubic-inch Oldsmobile V8 engine produced a paltry 140 horsepower, making this nearly 2-ton luxury sedan painfully slow and inefficient, averaging barely 12 miles per gallon in city driving. What made the Fleetwood Brougham particularly disappointing was its mediocre build quality, despite the premium price tag. The THM 200 4R transmission was notoriously weak and prone to failure, often not lasting beyond 60,000 miles under normal use. Electrical problems plagued these cars, with the digital fuel injection system causing stalling issues, rough idling, and check engine lights that illuminated constantly. The air suspension system failed regularly, leaving cars sagging in parking lots. Interior materials felt cheap for a flagship Cadillac, with vinyl that cracked easily and electronic climate controls that malfunctioned frequently. Number 1. 1981 Chrysler Imperial. The number 1 spot goes to the 1981 to 1983 Chrysler Imperial, one of the most catastrophic failures in American automotive history. Chrysler attempted to revive the Imperial name as a standalone luxury brand to compete with Cadillac and Lincoln, But what they delivered was a rushed, poorly executed disaster. Built on the same K-car platform as the economy Dodge Aries and Plymouth Reliant, the Imperial was fundamentally a dressed-up compact car pretending to be a luxury sedan. The 318 V8 engine was shoehorned transversely into a front-wheel drive layout, creating a cramped engine bay that made routine maintenance nearly impossible. The Imperial's problems were legendary from launch. The digital dashboard, marketed as cutting-edge technology, failed constantly with flickering displays and complete blackouts. The electronic voice alert system that warned drivers about various conditions became infamous for malfunctioning, either staying silent when needed or speaking randomly without cause. Build quality was atrocious, with water leaks around windows, door seals that failed, and paint that peeled prematurely.